The clock is at 0, and another Cougar football game is in the books.
On 2nd and goal, Jackson to the end zone for a touchdown. And he does find Dylan Wade for the opening score of the game. Jackson checks it down underneath, wide open. Ajamin Adai, touchdown. The leading rusher in the Big 12, who's now top 10 all-time in BYU rushing history, as the Cougs are knocking on the doorstep. And they are in for a touchdown. 9th rushing TD of the season for Martin. There's a trick pass. Wayne Thomas Jr. had it intercepted. BYU football. Evan Johnson with a takeaway. A couple of nice throws on this drive by Bear Bachmeier, and sets up a potential game-tying touchdown inside the 2-yard line. And it's Martin marching in for a touchdown, his 2nd of the game. Direct snap, L.J. Martin, 10th play of the drive. Muscles it near the goal line. Is he in? No signal. Touchdown. His 3rd. And now the dangerous return man, Parker Kingston, at the 45. Dicing it up the middle. There goes Kingston. Past one tackler. House call. 55 yards. BYU 3rd in the Big 12 on 4th down conversions this year. Leave it in Bachmeier's hands. Over the middle. Caught. 1st down and more. The 100-meter state champ is in for a touchdown. Parker Kingston for 46. Jackson again escaping pressure. Not that time. Ball knocked out. BYU football. Raider DeMooney with the takeaway.
Now it's time to break down all the action. You're listening to the Cougar Postgame Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It is your Cougar Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles, joining me to break down another BYU win, number 11 of the season for the Cougars. Alex, 41-21 at home over UCF. It got off to a bit of a dicey start. They were down 14-0 early on in the first quarter. But these guys remember that they're really good at football, and they got back into it, and it was not a game by halftime. If that.
No, and it's been one of the stories, right, for BYU this season. It's the fact that they've been down in games before, and they've had to claw their way back at times in games before. Specifically Colorado, specifically Arizona, specifically Iowa State, and it's been a recurring theme for BYU. And I know we've talked about before the slow starts for BYU, but in this one, even being down 14-0, I feel like you still have confidence in this BYU team to be able to come back, to be able to claw their way back, and then of course in the end come away with a 20-point win over UCF.
So what was it? I mean, it's a morning game that could lead to a slow start, but as you pointed out, this BYU team has started slow in a lot of their games and a lot of their wins. And then even the loss at Texas Tech, you could look at that one and say, yeah, they started slow in that one. So it is a pattern that has shown up for this BYU team, something that they obviously want to fix before next week. They have punched their ticket to go to Arlington for a rematch against Texas Tech. That's going to be a really fun game. But going down 14-0 early like they were today, I was worried a little bit. We were still doing our College Football Saturday show while this game was underway, and they allowed a touchdown on the opening drive to UCF, which, yeah, I mean, fine, whatever. And then they go a quick 3 and out, and it's like, okay, that's a little worrying. And then the UCF scores again, and it's like, okay, something's not going right. And BYU then woke up. They scored, 31 unanswered points essentially before UCF would score again. And there were some adjustments that had to be made, but I look at specifically on defense. I mean, Taven Jackson, I remember at one point this morning pointing out like he was 10 of 12 for 100-something yards and 2 touchdowns. And he finished the game, Alex, with 21 of 37 for 232 yards and 2 touchdowns. So midway through the first quarter, he was looking like a really good player. And then I think BYU did a good job of changing things up on defense, getting to him a little bit, and they forced some takeaways as well.
They forced some takeaways, but I think it was eventually really bringing in the pressure. It wasn't until the third quarter until I think BYU got their first sack, and so they did it. He did a great job starting the game. Right, his first quarter performance was good, but then the rest of the game, BYU made the adjustments. They needed to do what was necessary to contain Jackson, and obviously the score reflects that.
Yeah, and I don't know. He looked good, Jackson, speaking of him, for the first couple drives, and then he just looked like a dude, a guy. And it's like, yeah, that's why they only have 5 wins this year. And the broadcast was talking about him like he could have potential and stuff, but it's like he's a junior, and I wouldn't bank on that. And again, when you only have 5 wins, you point at the quarterback, and that's probably why. So for UCF, they end the season not bowl eligible for Scott Frost and his return to that program. But we were also saying this morning, like that's what you got to be wary of for if you're BYU, because you know that these guys are playing for something. Yeah. You know that these guys have something on the line for this game. It's not just, okay, let's chalk this up and get it over with. You know that Scott Frost is a veteran head coach who's been around and knows a thing or two about these guys. And that's exactly what UCF did, right? They came out, they punched BYU in the mouth, went up big early, and I don't think BYU was expecting that. I don't think they were expecting a fight out of these guys. And so, I mean, there's a lot of reasons that BYU started slow, and I don't know which one was the biggest reason, but let's I don't know. Let's wake them up an hour early next week or something, because if you start slow in Arlington, you're not getting back in this one.
Right. This one, I think it's a little different because you do have the senior day celebrations. Obviously, I think you have a little bit of a high going into this game, considering the fact that you'd already clinched your spot in the championship game, right? We talked about it this morning, but it was important not to overlook this team. And I think potentially, right, you start off slow in this one because you are kind of already looking ahead. You're distracted a little bit by the senior day celebrations, but massive credit to the coaching staff again for taking those guys over to the sideline, getting them settled into the game, and then big props to LJ Martin, who had a fantastic game, gets the first 2 touchdowns, gets back within 14-14, and I think even at just heading into the halftime at 17-14, it never really felt like BYU was in trouble in this one,
Yeah, definitely. Once they got going on offense, it was like, okay, they're good, no looking back. And you're right, at halftime the lead was only 3 for BYU, but it again, I kind of said earlier, and I want to clarify, like even at that point, it was like, no, it's not going to be close the rest of the way. And that's just the type of momentum that BYU had built up. And even without Chase Roberts, I think the offense was really efficient today. Again, after those first 2 drives, I mean, their second drive ended in a missed field goal. So really, once they woke up and got going, I mean, yeah, LJ Martin definitely 95 yards today on 22 carries, and the 3 touchdowns were all huge. I think Bear played a really good game, 21-25, 289 yards and 1 touchdown pass. I think Parker Kingston was absolutely phenomenal. Again, no Chase Roberts, so he steps up, becomes the de facto number 1 guy, 126 yards and a receiving touchdown, plus a 55-yard punt return touchdown. So very special day for Parker Kingston. Carson Ryan, another big game for him as well, 85 yards on 5 catches. He honestly should have scored, but he got vultured by LJ Martin. I thought that was kind of funny. He did all the tough work getting down to the 1-yard line, and then LJ Martin's like, all right, put me in, coach. And he did good. I'm surprised they didn't do, that's when the Eagles do like the tush push there, letting Jalen Hurts steal all the vulture touchdowns. So but yeah, I mean, BYU has my point being BYU has a lot of options, and even with their number 1 receiver out, you got a lot of different ways to hurt you, man. And this has been a really fun year for the Cougars, and picking up win number 11 means that, yeah, this is probably Kalani Sitake's best year with the program. And even barring what happens next week, I mean, just having the opportunity to play for a conference championship like that, imagine telling that to a BYU fan like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you will be playing for the Big 12 championship against the number 5 team in the country or whatever. That's special. This is a marquee year for Kalani Sitake. This is going to go down as one of his best seasons of his career, and hopefully, obviously, he's got a lot more left in the tank. Year number 10 for BYU, though, is more of a success than I think anybody thought it would be coming into the season.
Yeah. And obviously there's still, in BYU's case, there is still a lot of football to be played. It starts next week at Texas Tech. But I think even just making a conference championship game, just sitting at 11-1. This is, I think for me, and in my lifetime watching BYU, the best season that I've seen from this program have. It'll be up there as one of the best in their history. And of course you can cap it off with a potential Big 12 championship next week. But massive credit to Kalani, who we've talked about before, man. This dude is BYU football. He's established that culture. He's built that program. And Kalani Sitake has done phenomenal things with BYU, and now they have a chance to kind of pay it off, right? They have the chance to put the cherry on the cake, put the icing on the cake, and
did we lose Alex?
Even more so after what happened, a couple weeks ago, losing at Texas Tech. Now you get a swing at that team again.
Yeah, and that's what everybody was wanting, right? After that loss, I mean, you heard it several times. A lot of people involved with this BYU program felt like there were a lot of things that didn't go their way. And I believe it. I mean, you look at how disastrous that game started with the muffed punt and the shanked punt and all these mistakes that cost you really early. It felt like BYU, and it was their own fault, right? When I say that they didn't get a fair shake at Texas Tech, it's not like, it was due to their own doing. But now if you get a chance to do it over again and get another crack at it, it's big. So 11-1 on the year, 8-1 in the Big 12. Big season for BYU, man. Let's talk more about this game, because we needed to see something that, Bearhead kind of had a quiet week last week. And we I guess when I say that I wanted to see Bear Bachmeier come out and win a game, I wanted to feel confident that if they, knowing that they're going to play Texas Tech next week, I wanted to feel confident that, yeah, if they're going up against a juggernaut, can LJ Martin perform? Can Bear Bachmeier perform? Can the receivers step up? And I feel like today was one of the games this season where, and it hasn't happened a ton because of injuries and whatever, but it feels like everybody was involved with this offense today. And I think Aaron Roderick, despite the slow start, did a really good job of calling a balanced game, utilizing all his weapons. You look at how Bear Bachmeier kind of spread the ball around today. Like last week, we saw Parker Kingston had, I think, 7 catches last week, and then the rest of the receivers only had like 2 each.
Yeah.
Today, Kingston with 6, Ryan with 5, LJ Martin with 5, JoJo Phillips with 3. One of them was a huge play. And again, no Chase Roberts. So the way this game was called tonight, the way the offense performed, it makes me feel like they're kind of building Bear up, right? And preparing him for next week and kind of getting one last bout of confidence in his belt, because they've already seen this Texas Tech team. They know how tough they are. David Bailey, Jacob Rodriguez, 2 really tough players to go against, but you got to have that kind of fire in your gut. And today they did a good job. 41 points, phenomenal effort, right? Now they feel like, okay, our offense can hang with that defense.
Yeah. I agree with what you said. It feels like they were trying to get the ball out to, we talked about it a little bit this morning, right? Try to get JoJo Phillips involved, because especially with Chase Roberts out, try to get him involved and try to get his feet under him, considering that he missed a large chunk of the season out with the injury. But even with Chase Roberts out, Parker Kingston comes in, has a phenomenal game, puts up 126 through the air, catching. And then, of course, you have Carson Ryan, who I thought stepped up in big moments. And then you have the JoJo Phillips, even though he didn't get the ball as much as Carson or a Parker Kingston, he still had those big catches on the sideline. And it's good to see Roderick trying to get confidence for this offense under their feet and try to get them going, because you're going to need every single ounce of confidence that you can get heading into that game next week.
And we know that, I mean, there were 14 returning starters from last year. And after the way that last season ended, I think kind of similar, in a similar vein to the Texas Tech thing, right? Like, they know what went wrong, and they felt like if they had a chance to do it all over again this season, they'd be able to. And we kind of saw the season play out the exact same way up until after the Holy War, the rivalry week game, where BYU wins that game, and then the next two games, they're kind of, a post-rivalry week hangover, and that really bit them in the butt last year and kind of derailed their season, because they lost two games that they one game that they really shouldn't have, right? And so that was the whole goal this year, is if they get to that scenario again, can this leadership group step up and keep these guys on track and keep them where they need to be, in a spot where they control their own destiny. And it feels, I don't know what it feels like, but I would imagine that it feels really good to be just chilling last night, preparing for this game, and getting that notification, okay, BYU has punched their ticket to the Big 12 championship before they had even played today. Like, that's what happens when you take care of business. And that's why the whole control your own destiny thing is huge. And a lot of people kind of get sick of the phrase, because it is kind of a silly phrase, but at the same time, like, it just feels, it must feel good not having to rely on these tiebreaker scenarios or whatever. You know that you got yourself there, and that's a big deal.
That's a great way to look at it. It's a good way to look at it. It's the fruit of your labor, man. It's the work that you've put in throughout fall camp, through spring camp, right? Literally all the work and it's a culmination of everything that's happened from the final whistle against Colorado, right, when you win the Alamo Bowl, and all the work that you've put in since that day, to see it all kind of come up and pay off. And like you mentioned, you don't have to worry about the tiebreakers. You don't have to worry about somebody else getting the job done for you. You took it into your own hands. The work was put in by the team. They finished 8-1 they finished 11-1, on the season. And then, of course, it pays to win. It's been a common theme, a common recurring theme for us to talk about. The last couple of days. It pays to win, and in BYU's case, you didn't have to rely on anybody else to get that for you. You did it all by yourself, and again, that's credit to the work that the coaching staff has put in. A credit to the work that the players have put in, to everybody a part of that program, to now be able to head to Arlington and like I said, cap it off with what potentially could be a Big 12 championship.
It quite literally pays to win. I mean, winning helps all, and if you think BYU's got money now, just wait until they keep on winning, and they're going to get more and more, which is a good thing, by the way. Like, that is a good thing. I'm all for, these athletic departments utilizing these resources in the best way possible. And I think it's great. If BYU can put it to good use and have a dominant athletic department, I think that's a lot of fun. I like watching winning football. I like covering these winning teams. Like, it's better for everybody. So we'll see, next week what that rematch looks like, whether or not they are ready to truly hang with Texas Tech. But I think they've got a good shot, man. I think it's so crazy that Tech lost to Arizona State. Like, even the fact that they have a loss at all, like they have looked so dominant especially seeing them play these two local teams, they look dominant, but then at the same time, like, how dominant were they? Like, did they just capitalize on a couple big mistakes and the game felt dominant because of the way that BYU/Utah played in those games, or did Texas Tech truly dominate them? And I guess we'll have that answered next week, man. But win number 11 for BYU. Kalani deserves it. The seniors deserve it. They honored, 22 players today. Some of them might end up coming back, but it's a veteran group this year for BYU, and that's that's big. That's obviously, I think, a big reason why they were so good, because they had so many players return from last year that kind of got their hearts broken. And
Yeah,
these guys all come back, man. It's a good coaching staff. Obviously, as you pointed out, headed by Kalani Sitake, humble and hungry, right man for the job. He has these guys. Maybe they weren't quite hungry enough to start the game off, but they definitely finished it. And I liked what I saw out on the field. I mean, there's not much to say about this game once you get past the slow start, but I think there's several performances worth highlighting. And I pointed out this morning, I said even just one takeaway would win the game. BYU got two. That interception was nice, and the big hit on the forcing the fumble was nice too. And then BYU takes care of the football on their end, so you're +2 in the turnover margin. Clean. I don't even want to say early morning. It was an 11 a.m. kick. A clean Saturday matinee football from the Cougs, man.
absolutely. You take care of the ball, you don't turn it over. That's the quite easy recipe for success. You're able to force the interception, you're able to force the fumble, take it away from UCF. And then of course you protect the ball, right? It could have been a shaky start at the beginning there where there was the botch snap. Bear Blockmeyer has to land on it, right? The very first drive, the very first play of the game for BYU, but you don't let that phase you, as we've seen Bear Blockmeyer do literally the entire season. Doesn't let it phase them. They come back next drive and they're able to get the first touchdown on the board, despite being down 14-0 at that time. And then, of course, being able to come back and claw their way back into it, and then really take control of the game in the second half, and being able to contain that UCF offense in that second half. Dominant performance from BYU, I would say. Even with the slow start, it was still a dominant performance from the Cougars.
Yeah, which is, for as worried as we were midway through the first quarter, dude, like, I know that UCF ended up scoring another time.
Yeah, but even then,
it was not a close football game at all.
Right. And again, I think that's what makes the difference, right? It's the fact that even with the slow start, look, and compare it a little bit to the Colorado game, right? You go back to that Colorado game where you're down by 2 scores, and in that one, it literally felt like BYU had to claw their way back into it and then kind of seal it away with a late interception from Isaiah Glasker, right? It was still that one was a closer game. This one, it never felt like that, right? This one, it never felt, despite being down by 2 scores, it never felt like BYU was going to lose control of this game.
No. Once they found their momentum again, once they woke up, it was no doubt left. And a 20-point win is a heck of a game, right? And again, like it really doesn't even feel that close. Like this team, this UCF team was just out of sorts. Like a lot of miscommunications all over. And again, like I know Scott Frost has been with this program, but obviously none of these dudes played for him. So they are learning a new scheme in their first year with this coaching staff, and that's going to take some time. Ideally, you would like to see that, take place before the last game of the regular season, which is funny because they did go up 2 scores early, but when they were really trying to claw back in this game, like it was just miscommunications all over. You see the quarterback yelling at the receivers because they didn't cut in the right way, or there was that one play that honestly should have been a touchdown on the scramble drill, and then you have 2 wide receivers run into each other. Just things like that, man. Like ideally with time they'd get it ironed out, but I just don't think it's a very good team over there in Central Florida. We'll see what Scott Frost can do after a couple seasons. I mean, yeah, real scorching earth take. A 5-win team is not a very good team in Central Florida, but watching the game, it really baffled me that they were able to go up 2 scores early. And like I kind of started off the show with, like, I think BYU kind of just had to remind themselves, hey, we are way better than these guys.
What are we doing?
What is going on?
What are we doing here? I think, again, credit to the coaching staff for being able to take them over to the sideline and giving them a little bit of that wake up call and saying, hey, look, you guys are down 14-0 here. And you have to remember what's on the line, right? It's not just about it's not just about the berth to the championship at this point for BYU. It's also about getting into the playoff. And we talked about it a little bit on our morning on College Football Saturday, Christian. But right now, BYU isn't a team who can afford a loss, considering what happened to behind them with teams like Miami winning big. And so you couldn't afford the loss. You had to come out. You had to win it convincingly. And I think at the end of the day, the bottom line here is that BYU did such, especially after they woke up.
The style points, man. The big talking point, the style points. And I get it. Like, I get Kalani's angle, right? He wants the play to speak for itself. He doesn't want to have to campaign. And I disagree with that, but I understand his thought process there. I think you do have to be hammering the table. Yeah. Look at his buddy Sark down in Texas, right? Yeah. You have to be pounding the table for your team to get into the playoff. But when you dominate today, like I texted our producer Sean, I was like, man, your fingers must be getting sore from pulling all these freaking highlights. Like, so many big time plays today for BYU, with the punt return touchdown, the interception, the forced fumble, Parker Kingston's other like really long touchdown. Like, those are eye candy in a good way. Like, that's what grabs the attention of the playoff committee. And then you look at the box score for all the box score watchers, 20-point win. Nice. That looks good on paper. I really don't think that the committee is going to click through the game and be like, oh, but they were down 14-0 early. Yeah. No, they care about the final 20-point win. They care about the highlights that they're seeing pop up on social media. Like, that's what gets you into the playoff.
And to talk a little bit too now about the defensive side of the ball, and another thing for like the committee and the box score watchers, you look at the box score, man, and they allowed 42 rushing yards, which will do great for your metrics. When it comes to the committee looking at that and saying, hey, look, this team, and the conversation has been that for the entire week, this past week, is BYU being shorted by the committee. And I think ultimately it's quite possible they are, but when you put up a number like that in your rushing category, it does help your metrics, and that could help you also in the eyes of the committee.
I'm reading through our guy Mitch Harper's instant takeaways from this game. 2 sacks today gives BYU a season total of 28 sacks on the year. That is the highest number of sacks in a season since Kalani's first year at BYU, when they had 29 sacks. So, yeah, it's been kind of a running joke for BYU. Like, not a joke, but I mean, it's a thing everybody knows. They have not been getting the quarterback as of late, but this season they kind of turned that around. And obviously, a lot of that is because you got linebackers like Kelly and Glasgow that can be sent on a blitz and really wreak havoc in the backfield. But then you have a really good and experienced defensive line putting in work, not only getting to the quarterback themselves, but keeping those linebackers clean. So, yeah, when you're Jack Kelly, it's nice to be able to essentially have a free lane at the quarterback, because your defensive line does such a good job at eating up blockers. So, a lot of sacks this year for the Cougs, man. And then, of course, that helps with the takeaway numbers as well.
That's something that I heard plenty of people talk about at the beginning of the season, of something that just needed to improve from where it was last season, the pass rush and getting to the quarterback and getting those sack numbers up. So it's great to hear that this is, what do you say, the most since his first season?
The most since his first season.
There you go. Yeah. See, there you go. So a great improvement on the pass rush from where it was a year ago. And again, I think that, you're able to bring quick pressure on the quarterback. You're able to take him down the backfield. You're able to keep offenses behind the chains. That usually bodes well for your offense or for your team.
Yeah. More to break down. Let's see. Trying to figure things out with our guy, Kiri. I think he's waiting for the presser to start. For a second, he was like, I'm going to jump in right now, but I don't think he's going to join us quite yet. I think he's going to join us after Kalani is done talking at the podium. So stay tuned. A lot more to go. Alex Kiri will join us, and then hopefully we'll be able to play Kalani Sitake, or at least a little bit of it. Last regular season game of the year. They obviously wrapped the year with a win. That's great. That's phenomenal. 4 underclassmen honored today at Senior Day. So that's another thing to talk about too. And then the college football playoff picture. What does that look like after we've seen some football played over the past 2 days? A lot more to go. Stick with us. It's the Cougar Postgame Show, 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone.
listening to the Cougar Postgame Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It is the Cougar Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles joining me to break this one down. Alex, you've got a little bit of a tidbit.
Yeah, man.
Is this allowed to be talked about? Did you hear this during the postgame, or
Yeah.
did you see it? It's a
Yeah, I'm seeing it online. I'm seeing people calling it Parker Kingston's flu game, the Michael Jordan flu game. And I think BYU football even posted a meme of Parker Kingston photoshopped over Michael Jordan. Because Parker Kingston playing through food poisoning today. Still played. Apparently, he was, doing the food poisoning stuff all night and this morning. Still played through it and had a phenomenal performance. So big shout out to Parker Kingston, dealing with food poisoning, having his flu game, having a great performance.
That's actually crazy because it was cold. It was a cold day in Provo today, and what Parker Kingston did today was absolutely phenomenal. I want to go through his stats again. Of course, the big 55-yard punt return touchdown, seen him do that so many times. And then he had the long 46-yard catch and run touchdown, finished the day with 6 catches, 126 yards as the de facto go-to guy. And I was texting you and Sean during the game, like on that catch and run, I mean, Kingston caught it and sprinted and got ahead of everybody. And I kid you not, like he hit the 20-yard line and looked and saw nobody was even close to him. And he just let up and essentially walked. Like he definitely dropped it down into second gear from there. So that's, he's a special player. He's been one of the fun storylines for BYU's offense this year. Obviously, outside of Bear Bachmeier and all that, he was, speaking of Kingston still, he's a dude that's dealt with a lot of adversity as far as the drop punts and not having much of a role on offense last year, but you always saw a little flash of something special. And this year, it was flashes early on, and then really over these last several games, he has turned into a consistent, reliable playmaker, and he's coming back.
Yeah. And in games like this, in moments like this, where Chase Roberts is out, Chase Roberts is on the sideline in street clothes. You gotta figure out ways to keep the offense moving. And tonight or today for Bear Bachmeier, his go-to guy became Parker Kingston, and Parker Kingston responds with having a big phenomenal game.
There were some penalty controversies. I just saw people talking about it. I mean, obviously it doesn't impact a 20-point blowout win, but like that intentional grounding call or no call, I guess.
Yeah.
That was kind of silly, don't you think? He definitely was in the pocket.
Look, I think the flag should have been thrown. Don't get me wrong, but ultimately it doesn't make a difference in a game like this. If it was, a close game where BYU's down by 3 or up by 3 or something, like absolutely it becomes a topic of conversation. But in this case, BYU was already taking care of business, and so I don't necessarily think it has that much of an impact on the game, really.
What about Tanavasa's unnecessary roughness?
Oh, yeah. That one was an interesting flag to throw as well.
You didn't like it?
No, I don't know if I necessarily liked it. I don't think that it was a shove,
It's one of those things where it's easy to sit here and call it ticky-tack, but at the same time, like
right.
You hear the whistle blow and you throw him to the ground. And I get that it's a physical game, and I don't ever want to be the guy that makes football a less physical game, right? I hate that. But I do think there is a sportsmanship aspect of it, of where, if you've stood the guy up, he's not moving anywhere. In fact, you're driving him backwards. You don't need to give him the extra shove and push him down, whether or not the whistle is blown. Like, well, I guess I shouldn't say whether or not. Obviously, if the whistle's not blown, push him to the ground. But at that point, especially with a dude like Tanavasa, who's had some killer penalties at times this year with the unnecessary roughness, like I would prefer to not see that, but I can live with it.
I think we can get into the sportsmanship conversation because I think Kalani Sitake and that coaching staff hammer sportsmanship, right? They want to make sure that in between the whistles, in between the lines, like you are physical, you are ruthless. But then once it comes to being a good competitor and having good sportsmanship, I think is something that BYU prides themselves in. And so that's a conversation there. But I think ultimately the call ultimately the flag being thrown there. It's it's a ticky-tacky flag.
Yeah, I think you and Sean are on one side. I might be on the other. As far as penalties, though, not a bad day. I mean, 4 penalties for 40 yards. That's not a very good ratio there. UCF did commit 6 penalties on their end. But, I mean, you look at the stat sheet, man, and yeah, BYU just dominated in everything. Like time of possession, 35-24, 35-25 rounding up, I guess. Again, you dominated the turnover battle, 2 takeaways, no turnovers. Dominated the ground game, 118-44. Passing game, 289-254. Total yards, 407-298. The really, I guess, third down efficiency, BYU was below 50%. They were 6 of 13, but then they were 1 of 2 on fourth down. So that's a pretty good number as well. Again, they started slow today, but I think outside of that first half of the first quarter, this honestly was one of BYU's best games of the year. Like they really turned it on and didn't hit the off switch until that whistle blew.
Once they woke up, I will say as far as offense and defense go, yes, absolutely. The only it's hard to be super critical of a team when they win by 21 and they have such a great performance. But as far as the conversation goes, what the conversation after the loss of Texas Tech was special teams, right? And how great and you got to be good on all 3 phases, and special teams wasn't there. Obviously, you get the punt return, which is great. But Will Ferrin goes 1 for 3 in this one, and it just seems uncharacteristic for Will Ferrin to be missing kicks. Man,
was he 1 for 3 or 2 or 4?
Oh, maybe he might have hit one more.
Either way, I mean 2 misses. This is the dude that broke the record, right, for consecutive makes in a row for BYU. Like early on in late last year and early on in this year. It was automatic. You throw him out there and you know he's going to make it. And then he had that miss, and it felt like since then he's been a little inconsistent. So kickers are weird in that sense. No offense to you, but like once the bugaboo kind of gets in their head, like it really messes with them down the stretch. And I don't know. Like at first, again, to open the season, it was like, oh yeah, this is a dude that could probably have a future in the NFL because of what he's done for BYU. And I think he still has the leg for it, but the issues over the last probably 5 or 6 games, I don't even want to call them issues, but he wasn't the superhero that we thought he was at the beginning of the year. And I have no doubt in my mind that he can return to that. I think he's a very good football player. It's just kickers are weird that way. And when he had showed us that level of consistency, that's what you expect from there on out. So for him to fall down a tier, that's why the disappointment comes, because we had seen so many good things, so many made field goals in a row. Mm-hmm. So that is a bit of a weird storyline, bit of a negative that has shown itself over the last few weeks for the Cougs.
Yeah. And the only reason I bring it up again too is because that was the conversation after the Texas Tech game was the muff punt, was the shank punt, and it was being more effective, right, on special teams. And so I only bring that up because now you're heading into another battle with Texas Tech, and you have Will Ferrin missing kicks. And in this game, right, this is one that you can get away with it, but obviously that's probably not something you're going to be able to get away with against Texas Tech.
I believe he has 6 misses on the year, which isn't bad. But you know what? He was perfect on extra points this year, so that's good, right? That is a huge positive, because not a lot of kickers can say that, especially for as many touchdowns as BYU scored, frankly. Yeah. It's not like they're only scoring 14 points a game. Like this was a pretty well-oiled machine on offense. And then when you know that you are getting 7 points instead of 6, that is a big deal. So by no means am I saying that Will Ferrin is not a good kicker, but just not playing up to the Will Ferrin standard that he had already set. Yeah. So.
And maybe that's probably part of the issue too, is the fact that he already set the bar so high, and now he has to continue to meet that bar.
Yeah. But nevertheless, I mean, if BYU needed 3, would I still trot him out there? Yes, I would.
Absolutely.
You know, if next week BYU is down by 2 and you send Will Ferrin out for the game-winning kick as the clock winds down, would I feel confident that he could make it? Yes, I would.
Absolutely.
And that's what matters.
Absolutely. Just shore it up. That's all we ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking back at this game, Alex, today, I think Bear Bachmeier, Kiri was wanting Bear Bachmeier to go for 110, and Bear was about 106 yards short of that on the ground. He had nine carries for 4 yards. Of course, you do give it to LJ Martin 22 times. How many sacks did UCF have? They had 4 sacks, so that does knock down the rushing total quite a bit, but still nowhere near what we had kind of been seeing from Bear, where he was basically a lock at times to give you 40, 50, even 60 yards on the ground. I think today, and again, it's your last game of the year. You got a big game next week, so you don't want to put yourself in a position to get hurt or anything, but are you worried that Bear was not able to really run the ball effectively today, or is it kind of just like hey, you didn't really need to do it?
I feel like it's a mix of both. You didn't really need to do it, and then too, it doesn't help when Austin Leusa gets rolled up on from behind. He has to go out for a little bit. Good to see him return, especially right with Waylon Lapuaho out at the moment. But when you have 2 guys on your offensive line, and that probably contributes to the sack number. I think ESPN put a graphic up during the broadcast saying that in the last 3 games, Bachmeier was sacked once. And then in this one, he had at that point when they put up the graphic, he had 3. And so I feel like it's a combination of one, you don't need to put yourself in a situation where you have to open up yourself to running the ball the way you have in the past, and then also too, it makes a difference when you have 2 guys on that offensive line who are super critical, who are currently on the sideline unable to go. But again, good to see Austin Leusa come back and finish out that game, because he's going to be a guy that's going to be needed next week for sure.
Yeah, and then you hope you can get Waylon Lapuaho back, because his absence the last 2 games, I think it's been really felt. Even though, again, like LJ Martin had a career day last week, and then today had a solid game as well. But through the passing game, I think the pass blocking has really been hurt with no Lapuaho out there. So I totally agree with you, though, with Bear. Like, it just was not part of the game plan today, and that's totally fine. And you know what? I feel very encouraged with the way that he was able to perform in the drop back game today, even though he did take the 4 sacks. Very high completion percentage today, 21 of 25. That's over 80%. And then 289 yards is really good, and the 1 touchdown. I've seen some conversation online about his passing touchdowns not being a very high number. You got to remember, again, like, how many times do we have to say it, right? He did not even play spring ball with BYU. This dude did not know that he was going to be the starting quarterback until, August, I guess. And he didn't even know that he would be in the conversation for the starting quarterback until August, I guess. I don't even remember when it was that it was official that Jake Retzlaff was not coming back. But it was just a crazy situation that Bear Bachmeier was not supposed to be in at all. Yeah. And for him to be a true freshman out there, he's going to win Freshman of the Year for the conference. And the passing touchdowns are going to come. Like, again, if he looks this good this year, imagine what he's going to look like with a full offseason. Isn't that what Shedeur Sanders said the other day or something like that? Like, it's going to get real scary.
Yes. And I think that's what makes the Bear Bachmeier story so intriguing and so interesting to watch and to see it develop right in front of our eyes. It's not the fact that, because you have true freshman quarterbacks, you have freshman quarterbacks coming into college football who are great. Mestamaker for UNT. I'm blanking on names right now. Underwood, who's done some good things for Michigan, I guess, except they lost today. But you do have freshman quarterbacks coming in into the college football level and doing good things. But it's the fact that Bear didn't go through spring training, didn't go through. He was learning the Stanford playbook during, right before he transferred, right in the spring, right? He was going through Stanford and going through their offensive scheme and going through the things that they were doing, but then ultimately decides to transfer to BYU in the spring portal and then has to completely learn everything from scratch. And so I think that's what makes this story so intriguing. It's the fact that he had to come into possibly an uncomfortable situation. What would it be in an uncomfortable situation for a true freshman quarterback? But he didn't allow himself to be uncomfortable, and he took to this offense quickly and well.
14-4 on the touchdown to interception ratio, which you'll hear all the time. You want that to be 3-1. So almost there on the ratio there. I'm not going to do math, but it's basically right there, right? And again, like there were games where the passing game was there, and that's how they won the game. And then there were games like last week when you just give it to LJ Martin 33 times and let him run for 220 yards. Like, you've got a really good running back, you should be using him. And that's going to hurt the passing total a little bit. So really encouraging game from Bear today. And I think after that loss to Texas Tech, I think they've realized that there are going to be games where they need to let Bear throw it around a little bit. And I think they're feeling really good about where he's at.
And they should. And they should, mostly too, because he got you to 11-1 on the season, which again, very, very impressive for a true freshman quarterback.
Yeah, very impressive year, man. Especially you think of all the highlights of like him dragging dudes in the end zone. That's so much fun. And that's going to be his calling card, and that's going to be what he's known for. And I like his arm. I think he's got a huge arm, and I think he really is going to develop as a true passer over the next year or two. And I think A-Rod is the guy to do it, man. So they're going to get the best out of him, and he's going to continue and do great things. He's been such a wonderful surprise for BYU this season. And it makes you wonder, I mean, about the future, of course, with Ryder Lyons and that situation coming in. But look, if you've got a guy, if Bear Bachmeier continues to improve year after year, by the time Ryder gets back, I've seen the jokes, like tell him to take a 2-year mission, and things like that. Like, he might come back into a situation where Bear Bachmeier is not ready to let go of this job yet. And that's a good thing. That's good for BYU football. So he's been a really fun revelation. And, there haven't been a ton of huge performances where it's like, oh my gosh, he's lighting the world on fire. But you know what? They are 11-1, and they don't get there without a really good quarterback under center. Anytime
that comes up, Christian, anytime you mention it, he's not lighting the world up. Or anything to that matter. I just remember to what you said at the beginning of the season, where just give him the keys to the Lamborghini, let him drive, and don't crash it.
Don't crash it, kid.
And that's what Bear Bachmeier has done consistently throughout the course of the season. He's managed games well. He's managed situations well. He doesn't really let turnovers or anything really phase him. And he's driving that Lamborghini well. And of course, that's reflected by an 11-1 record.
Yeah. Even after the loss to Tech, like they bounced back the next week, and he looked just as good as he would have if they had won by 20 points the week prior. Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't let things get to him. In fact, that TCU game was another really good performance by him. So I love it, man. I really do like what he's doing down there in Provo. So Kalani Sitake is currently at the podium. Hopefully we're going to get sound for that soon. Might also see an appearance from Alex Curie. We will see if we can get to him, but we got to take another break real quick, and then we will continue on with the Cougar Postgame Show. Stick with us. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
listening to the Cougar Postgame Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back to the Cougar Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. BYU gets the win 41-21. Breaking it down right now, myself, Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles joining me, and we've got a special guest, Alex Curie. If he's ready. Sorry, I should have made sure he's ready. Sounds like he might be busy doing something.
Hey, there he is.
Hey, sorry. I just
Sorry,
shaking
Alex.
hands with people. I'm just glad handing out here, making sure everybody feels comfortable with the. No, they just escorted all the. I've been having to convince people that I'm not a family member who's just trying to stay late because it's senior day, and they do all the extra stuff, and they have all the extra things going on, and all the family members. There was probably. I mean, you can see the field right here is empty now, but like it was just every conceivable soul that's related to any of the seniors and half of the other teammates too. That they're all right. They were all hanging out on the field there until about 5 minutes ago. So fun day for the seniors, obviously, to get the win. So that was cool for them. I was looking. Kalani came out in his press conference, and he just. And Brian Santiago, the athletic director, actually was like, they were trying to tell him like, hey, be respectful, but you got to this is your chance to tell people that BYU should be a playoff team. And Kalani's very diplomatic. He doesn't want to go over the top when it comes to, saying stuff that he shouldn't about other teams. And then he says that first. Like, I can't speak for the other teams. I just know that we're 11-1 and we're going to be playing in a conference championship game. And there are a lot of people who are not going to be. And so that makes a difference. I think that, now they got to start putting elbows out because Texas is doing it. He was specifically asked about Sark, and he was like, yeah, look, I'm friends with him, and it's great. The thing is, it's a weird balance because Sark's out there kicking the door down saying, you better let us in. We just beat Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And then you got Kalani going, I'll let other people take care of that, and I'm like, no, that's not what you want. I'm like, yeah, this guy's your friend until like right now he'll stab you in the back to sneak into the playoffs. So
that is the hard part, is because that is the spot that Texas would be going after, right? That final at-large spot. So
and whoever it ends up being. I mean, obviously they win next week and they don't care. They win next week and they get in and they're likely hosting a game here at this stadium. Which I was actually talking to a facilities guy too. You guys think this is kind of funny. They're like really worried about. I was like, hey, you guys getting ready for the possibility of a game on the 19th or the 20th? And he was like, we're actually kind of scared to death about it because this stadium has issues with pipes freezing all the time. Like, they can worry about that stuff in the postseason. They don't care because they don't have to host games. But a December 19th game would be extremely cold typically, right? And so they're like, I'm sure that they'll have it all figured out. If you ask BYU to be ready for something, the amount of people that'll show up early and make it happen obviously is going to be there. So it's interesting they're having these conversations though. Like these aren't conversations they got to have last year. Last year it was they were 10-2. They knew that they were out of the conference championship game. And it was kind of interesting too because they were also just out of the discussion, even though SMU ended up getting an at-large bid and they probably didn't deserve it. And BYU had the head-to-head there. But I think you had a different vibe here today. And the slow start kind of he was asked about that too. And he's like, I don't know. And I think Hatch asked it too. He goes, do you think it was partly because you guys knew that you had clinched and then you came out on the field? And I mean, UCF scored 14 before half the stadium was seated. And so I think, and he goes, I don't know, we're human, who knows how that works, but it was interesting. So that bottom line is it's an 11-1 season. I can't remember off the top of my head. Like I said, I think the 2020 season was an 11-1 year, right? They lost to Coastal, I think was that game. But again, super different because you're not talking about a conference game. You're talking about piecemealing together a weird COVID schedule. And I think it's night and day difference in terms of how much talent is on this field overall for this BYU team. And so there's a good vibe with the seniors that are going out. There's a good vibe with people who are hanging out and, and are kind of adjacent to the team. And so it's probably one of the better, again, who knows how it's going to end because it could be a college football playoff or it could be the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And those are hard conversations to have.
In in talking too about Kalani being respectful and about putting his elbows out and trying to boost BYU and get them out there a little bit. He seems like the type of guy who would rather his performance and his players show that they deserve it. And of course tonight you get a 21-point win against UCF. But do you think in the eyes of the committee that this is a performance that says, hey, this is a team that should be in the college football playoff?
You know, who knows? Because like, if you're looking for style points, there were moments in the game, right? What did we say too? What was the difference? Like, the reality is that some of this has to deal with, or some of it has to do with, whether or not you think that BYU should be put in ahead of a 5th or a 6th SEC team. Like that, it seems like a no-brainer, but you're fighting against a lot more history. BYU doesn't have history on its side. Like, I mean, I know the national championship and blah, blah, blah. But like the reality is that there are people that still kind of mix up BYU with a really good G5 program, which is kind of what they've had to fight after independence. But there's a branding thing that's in there. And I know that they wanted Kalani to be a little bit more aggressive about saying stuff, but he's just not that kind of guy. And when you're 11-1, you're 11-1 in the Big 12 too. You're not 11-1 in the American, and you're not trying to sneak in as a G5. And so I think that and Joey McGuire, I don't know if you guys saw it during the game, he tweeted out, or he said in his post-game press conference, did you guys see this? He's like, listen, I don't know what you guys think, but BYU and Texas Tech need to be in the Big 12 or need to be in the college football playoff. Joey McGuire, Texas. He's one of those guys that has put his elbows out a lot more. And I think that's the attitude you have to have now, is just go out there and push your conference on everybody else. And it's weird because I don't like the conference cheering stuff, but these coaches they gotta stick up for one another and just be like, and because you're talking about shared revenue that's going to get split, around the room. So I'm hoping that that he gets a little bit better about talking nice about himself. He doesn't like to. He's too humble and hungry. You gotta get rid of that. Go with the hungry part and then do the sufficiently humble and very hungry, kind of deal.
You can be humble afterwards, man.
I know. You can't be humble if you're not playing in a game. Like, come on, be humble while you're playing in the college football playoff. Like, so yeah, I think it's been interesting to watch. I know that they wanted him so bad to go out there and just push it, and I just don't think it's in him to be, cutthroat like that. So
yeah.
But today's game, though, Napoles, you asked about today's game. I don't know. I mean, Bear was 21 for 25 for 289.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't actually look like that, did it? Like, to me, I was like, that's a pretty nice game for him. What were his numbers? Maybe 17 for 28? No, he was 21 for 25. And he had even a couple drops that were like JoJo had that wide open drop, and he could have had an even better day. And, color me stupid. He had like no rushing. This is like his worst rushing game of the year besides that Stanford game. So, I'm going to put it on Napoles. Napoles, your keys to the game were garbage, dude.
Hey, I didn't put that out there.
That's what I wanted to get to you with, Gary. Actually, were those passing and rushing numbers? What were your thoughts on why Bear was not effective on the ground? I mean, we were kind of talking earlier, like it just wasn't really calling for it, right? They didn't need it. I was also kind of leaning into the fact too that you've got a huge game next week that you're not going to win unless Bear Bachmeier has a tremendous day through the air. So I think it's a good thing letting him build his confidence with his arm like that.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point, because I think the other thing that happened, Christian, is like he wasn't effective on the ground, but they weren't calling his number. They called it the ones where he's scrambling and kind of just like halfway starting to get it. There were so fewer of those called draws that we had been seeing. A couple of the RPO stuff, and he made a couple bad. Like, he made that pitch to LJ on that play that he should not have made a pitch to him. Ended up losing like a yard or whatever it was. He ended up getting bailed out because there was a face mask on the play. But there were a couple times and he knew it. As soon as he pitched it, he's like, why did I just do that? Like, why did I just pitch it? So he's got to get a little bit more confident in that. But it's got to be a better mix of that passing and that running. But I think they were deliberate today in not taking as many like called runs for Bear. It was mostly the scrambles, and it was mostly him just trying to get out of trouble. And He has a hard time getting out of trouble, by the way. It's not, I mean, he's not the fastest dude in the world. And I stood next to him in the press room and I was like, you know what? The Portland State coach was like not even close to uh, really trying to give you a good idea of how big this dude's like legs and hindquarters are. So I'll second what the Portland coach. I mean, when you're standing next to him, you're like, holy cow! Like, I mean, I'm almost 6'3", and I'm sitting there, and I'm a big dude, but like I'm sitting next to him, I'm going, this guy is he's made of some stuff, man. Like he's with just his socks on, and he was just taped up, and he was almost eye to eye with me, and he's a big body, man. So good luck taking that guy down, but he's not going to outrun anybody on any of these track meets. So
obviously, you're going to have a lot to break down this week with BYU heading into a Big 12 championship game. But give us your first initial early thoughts on BYU heading over to Arlington for that rematch against Texas Tech, man.
I mean, they have to hit reset on that first game like they've never hit reset before. It needs to be a completely different game plan. It needs to be something totally out of the box that you're not going to fool them with anything. You're not going to out-talent this team. Like, yeah, I think they've out-talented team. Like today, they just out-talented UCF, you know, and that you can't do that against Texas Tech. And they're going to be the more talented team, I think, overall. So I'm interested to see what that game plan is going to look like. It's going to be different, and I think they're going to have to be super different. I think that they just have to go totally away from what they were trying to do in the first game, which I don't even know what that was, to be honest. But I think mostly it's, hey, how can you create turnovers from the team who doesn't commit turnovers? So that's what they have to do. But they're the type of team that creates turnovers. I mean, how many they end up having? Did they have 2 picks and a fumble, or was it +3, Kristen? I can't remember.
+2, 1 pick, 1 fumble. They did. I think Alexander let one go through his hands. Would have been a third one, but yeah. Still +2 on the day.
Yeah. So they had some opportunities there. So we'll see what it ends up being against that Texas Tech team. But I think they have to have a different game plan. I think they just have to really. And I think LJ being healthy is going to be huge and have that confidence back. He's got to have a totally different game as well. Yeah,
especially, I mean, after that 200 whatever yard game last week, right? Having that under his belt at this point is going to be big. So, Kiri, thanks for hopping on with us, man. Thanks for the insight in the presser. That's big stuff. Yep. That's going to be a big talking point over the next week. So everybody be sure to listen to Alex Monday through Friday, 3 to 7.
We'll see you guys on Monday.
Talk to you later, Kiri. See ya.
Thanks, Kiri.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. I even was looking at Twitter right now. BYU football put out a tweet, 11-1. They straight up said in their tweet, it would be a disservice to the sport if this is not a playoff team. Like BYU football is official, like whatever, 20 whatever.
I see what you did there.
Social media intern that's running the football account is tweeting that. So everybody's pounding the table except for Kalani, man. And sometimes you got to stop being so dang nice. I get it, but dude, this is your chance to get up on the table and yell and cheer for your team. So,
and I get it. I get, I get it's his personality and whatnot. And I get that he seems like the type of coach who says we don't have to do any of the talking. We just have to show with our pads in between the lines. And I think BYU has done more than enough to show it with their pads in between the lines this season. However, the committee disagrees. And so sometimes maybe you do have to be a little bit more vocal in presenting your brand. Maybe sometimes you do have to be a little bit more vocal in putting your elbows out and speaking for your program. Right. And so I think this is a situation for BYU where, again, I think they've done plenty to show that they deserve to be there. Now they just have to be a little bit more vocal in advocating for their program, maybe a little bit.
Couple scores to keep an eye on before we wrap. Yesterday, Texas did beat Texas A&M. Obviously, A&M is not going to fall out of the top 10. But the thing is with that Texas win is you really hope that doesn't give the committee any sort of juice to try and push Texas into the playoff picture. Miami did get a win today against Pitt. So we'll see what happens there with Miami. But the big one, a game going on right now, LSU leads Oklahoma 3-3. Oklahoma sitting at number 8. They have 2 losses on the season. So it feels like if anybody were to drop out, everybody else that could potentially drop out. I mean, Alabama plays at Auburn later today. Maybe that would be an opportunity there. But really this Oklahoma game is huge. If Oklahoma were to lose at home to LSU, there's no way they could be let in the playoff, losing to a 7-4 LSU team.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big one that Cougar fans might want to keep an eye on, because if they lose, I mean, that should be BYU's spot right there, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And if it comes to Tuesday, and somehow Texas is campaigning their way into the into a higher ranking, then I think that BYU one should take from what Sark did and start campaigning for their program just a little bit more, because I think they deserved it. But again, if somehow Texas sneaks in, I think that the committee sends a clear message to teams like Utah, to teams like BYU, to teams in the Big 12 that says, hey, this is for the SEC and the Big 10. This isn't meant for the Big 12 and the ACC.
Well, and what's funny too, Kalani's already had his post-game presser, right? So it's almost too late for him to start pounding the table for his team. It's almost like he's got to go start a live stream or something and get on, or maybe join one of our shows throughout the week and do something like that and just go scorched earth. And that would be awesome, but it's not going to happen. So I do agree that BYU should be in, especially considering a lot of these teams that are in have 2 losses and BYU only has 1. I mean, that's simple math. I don't care how many ranked opponents BYU has or has not beat. I think that they have done a very good job with their schedule that they've had this year. And, wins like today, I think, put a dominant stamp. And you look at the wins that they do have, like Utah is a really good win. And some of these other teams, Arizona is a really good win. So we'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, long story short, man, if you're a BYU fan, you are really hoping Oklahoma loses, and we'll see what happens there. So, all right, let's wrap this thing up, man. Offensive, defensive MVP one last time for the regular season.
Offensive, it's an easy one today. I'm going to give it to Parker Kingston. Parker Kingston's flu game. Defensive MVP, it has to be Evan Johnson, right? Coming up with the big turnover and making the big play. Or I could even go Jack Kelly, who I thought played a phenomenal game and had the 2 sacks. But I'm going to stick with Evan Johnson.
Solid pick. Yeah, you get an interception, and you deserve to be talked about in the Cougar Postgame Show with Christian Esparza and Alex Napoles.
Absolutely, man. Parker Kingston, Evan Johnson, those are the MVPs.
Quetzal Kuber chiming in, talking about Oregon, Washington 13-7 at half. That could be another big upset. Yeah, if Washington were to somehow beat Oregon, that would be huge. So couple of these top 10 games to keep an eye on, and then, of course, Alabama at Auburn later. But, the easiest way for BYU to get in would be to win next week against Texas Tech in Arlington in the Big 12 championship. Then you don't even have to worry about what the heck the stupid committee says. So that would be awesome, man. And we're going to be tuning in to that one. Be sure to keep up with all the shows on the KSL Sports Zone all week. Then read up on our guy Mitch Harper's coverage on KSLSports.com. Going to have everything getting you ready for the Big 12 championship. It's going to be a big one in Arlington next week. Can't wait for that one. Want to thank everybody who tuned in throughout this regular season for the Cougar Postgame Show. It's been awesome doing this with you, Alex. Sean been doing a great job producing for most of these things, and then Alma has hopped in a couple times as well. Jake Hatch, Alex Carey helping out with sending audio. So thank you to everybody helping make this thing happen throughout the season. It's been a fun one. Of course, it's not over yet, though. So talk to everybody next week, and then hopefully another time or two after that, right?
Absolutely. First things first, though, Texas Tech, man. It's a massive, massive game coming up here for BYU, and I'm looking forward to it.
Big game in a week for BYU. We'll talk to you next week. It's been the Cougar Postgame Show, 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone.